Welcome everybody to Catfish Weekly. Along with the Chad, I'm live. And Chad, it's going to be one of them nights. Yeah,
Start again. Let's start again.
you try it.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Catfish Weekly. I am the Chad, executive co-host Catfish Weekly, and this is my partner in crime, Lyle Stokes of Catfish Weekly. Tonight, we welcome our guest, Dennis from the Northeast Missouri Angler YouTube channel. Welcome, Dennis.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I see the dog didn't knock over your light.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Chad, what do you say we announce some of the people that's in chat with us tonight?
Let's do it, my friend. You want to kick it off, or would you like me to?
Go right ahead, man. I'll let you have the wheel.
All right, we got Moonlight Fishing. Mr. Avid Fisherman James Dockery is in here. Angler Hollis Isabella. What a sweet young lady she is. She had an awesome show last night where Lyle put a whooping on Mark from Catfish Crappie. You guys ought to go over and check that out.
I think he let me win.
I think he did too. We got Mr. Jason Lamb, Matthew Schott, Chrissy Brown, Podcast OG, Brian B. Catfishing. Already lost it. There we go. John Patrick Jr., Mo Creek. What's going on, Rob? We got Creole Catfishing.
I see Jersey River Rats in there, and Chad, look what I got in the mail today.
What?
Ain't that special?
That's pretty nice.
I got three of them. They're awesome, man. If you guys haven't checked out Jersey River Rat's channel, go check him out. He's got some videos and stuff. He goes live every once in a while, and he needs people to check him out. He does a great job.
That he does. I would have checked my mail to see if maybe I had one, Lyle, but I've lost the mailbox key. Who knows? We got Mr. Ronnie Moore. We got Dale Haslett, Muskrat Adventures, Mark Anthony. Scrolling down here, brother. Scrolling down. They've been in here chatting it up. Freddie's Outdoor Adventures.
See Kevin with Palmetto Cats and Creole. Lance McCouguy. Josh the Weekend Angler. Chrissy Brown. Alvin Lewis. Ray Smith. Glad to see you in here, Ray. Mad Catter Catfishing. How you doing, buddy? Carolina Catfishing. John Boy's Catfishing. Real and Virtual Outdoors. Mark with Catfish and Crappie. Jason Lamb. John Patrick Jr.
Yeah. Pick something here, Lyle, on my phone.
Mike Irwin. Clearview Outdoors. Bobcat Outdoors. David Smith. There's Isabella again. Big City Catfish. Well, I think we lost him, Dennis. I think he just dumped us.
He said something. He had something on his phone. I thought that's what he said.
Twisted Fishing TV. Hey, Frank, how's it going? The Bullock Experience. Big Mike. I don't know who he Off the Res Catfish Hunter. Whisker Dreams. Like we said, John Boys. Lance McCouguy. There's Van with V3 Customs Kentucky. Fishing and Freedom. Mark Anthony. Mo Creek. Let's see. Who else am I missing here? Man, there's a long way to the bottom of this list.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
Well, it is. I see somebody has announced the Itty Bitty Kitty Committee. I just love that. That's awesome. Jimmy Graham. I have to be very careful saying that, however. Hooked on D. Freddie's Outdoor Adventures. Fishing with JBT. I think we're getting to the end of them, Dennis.
Oh.
Ronnie Moore. We're getting close. We are getting close.
It's a pretty good list, though.
It is. I don't know. how many more's in there that we didn't find, but when Chad comes back in, we'll let him pick up the slack
There you go.
since he's slacking now. But it's okay. There he is.
I think he's coming back now.
He
There
found
he
his
is.
way.
I did. My apologies. So you see what happened, Lyle, is I got a new update on my phone, and I'm pretty sure it was one of those iPhone updates that
Uh-oh.
came to Android. And we're way better than that. We can't accept those kind of things. So.
I understand.
If you update it, it'll never work again. You have to get a new one.
You have a brother that talks about those iPhones all the time.
Yeah. Do we have to claim him, though? I mean, come on.
Older brother, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, they're all older. I'm the baby.
That's
By like at least 20 or 30 years. So
that's true. I see one in here that I haven't got. Ronnie Moore is one, and Pontoon Jody. I thought I don't see it, but I thought somebody said hello to Paula. And if Paula, there she is, Paula Smith. Said
Yep,
she
there's
got
Paula.
great news today, and Paula, we're also glad about that. Glad to have you in chat tonight, and congratulations on getting some good news. It's awesome when somebody gets good news like you got today. That's way cool. So congratulations on that. All right, Chad, I think I've got most of them. Well, maybe not. There's Avid. I didn't know if we got Avid or not.
Avid was in here at like 3:00.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's Kevin Baker. Yeah, him and Cindy kind of go at it about who's first and second, and David Smith is here.
Dominic
Hollis. CBA. John Patrick Jr. They're still coming. Fishing and Freedom. All right.
Lots of people.
Dennis, we had you on Panfish Nation here a couple of weeks ago, and we was talking about crappie fishing.
Yeah.
But it's a different situation tonight. And I knew that you done a lot of catfishing.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how much until we got to talking about it. And
my primary thing I do is catfish. I fish for other fish too. But pretty much, unless it's a hot bite on something else, it's straight catfish. That's it.
And you fish Mark Twain Lake and the surrounding area below and above the lake, and you fish the Mississippi River.
Yeah, I fish Mississippi some, Mark Twain Lake, and the Salt River from the lake all the way to the Mississippi. And of course, the pool from Saverton to Clarksville, and then from Saverton north.
Okay.
I think it goes all the way up Quincy, Illinois. There's a kind of a overflow lock there, mainly from Quincy south to Clarksville in that general vicinity.
You don't go up around Keokuk?
I don't. Mainly because there's the North River, the Fabish Chute, all that runs in between Quincy and Hannibal.
Right.
And a lot of times I'll go run up there. I'll put in Hannibal and I'll run up river. It amazes me, and other people went with me, to drive from Hannibal to Quincy is half hour.
It is.
You can put in the water at Hannibal on the river, and you can be sitting at the Quincy riverfront in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Only going, 30, 35 mile an hour.
Right.
And they're like, man, it didn't seem like it took us that long. It's because it did. You're straight up river,
That's right.
You're not doing all this.
And good river to boat.
There is some good spots. It's not as good. The northern side, once you get it north of St. Louis, I think the further north you get, about every 30 miles, it just gets worse and worse and worse as far as the amount of big fish.
I agree.
They're still got big fish in there, and they do catch them, but not like they do from St. Louis south.
That's for sure. That is for sure. I know growing up in Bowling Green, which I know you're familiar with that area.
Yeah.
We fished below the Clarksville Dam. Now everybody wants to fish below the Melvin Price Dam for big fish. But when I was a kid, I would guess that the majority of the big fish that was caught that people actually talked about was below the Clarksville Dam.
Yes.
I never heard of anybody fishing Alton in those days. Nobody talked about it. If they did, they kept it quiet. But everybody
You knew
went
who the
below.
guys were that were catching the big ones, but you didn't know where they were going.
Yeah, that's right.
Only a
Yep.
select few knew where they were going and the methods they were using to get them.
That's 100% correct. And when they figured out that you could consistently catch those big blues below the dams, and word got out that people was using giant baits and
Yeah.
skipjack herring. They was traveling miles and miles to get big skipjacks. It changed. The whole fishing complexion as we know it today changed back several years ago. People was they would get some big skipjack and freeze them in newspapers, wrap them up in newspapers and put them in freezers, one at a time. And yeah, I remember all them things. And it has been a good thing, I believe. But there's some things that went along with the change that wasn't necessarily for the better. But it is what it is. That's with anything.
Yeah, the river's changed a lot too. I mean,
Yeah, and it does every time it floods. People don't
that river
understand that.
changes so much. I
Yeah.
mean, we used to fish a lot in the wintertime, right there behind the Saverton Lock. On the Illinois side, it's an earthen levee. The lock's actually on the Missouri side,
Mm-hmm.
Saverton Lock. And on that earthen levee side, there was a huge hole halfway across, from about the middle of the river all the way to the Illinois side. Couple hundred yards from the lock there, a couple hundred yards down, and it was 30-35 foot of water, just a big hole. And you should do good fishing in the wintertime. We catch the walleye and sauger, of course, but we'd also catch nice blue cat in there. And because they be in the channel, which was only around 20 foot, 20, 24 foot. And then all them sloughs, they come to the dam and into that deep hole and lay in that deep hole. And now over there, since then, this was in the mid 90s. Now it's 5 foot deep. It's filled in that much. Yeah, they've had to dredge out the channel. They keep dredging the channel out and stuff and whatnot. And they just throw it over, over there at that side, and it's filled it in so much. We were there this summer, and I'm like, let's go try this hole with my wife with me, and we went across there. As soon as I got out of that channel, it was. It was like this, and pretty soon I seen 3 foot, and I didn't want my boner in the water no more. I just went ahead, trimmed it up, turned around, and went out.
Yep.
So that
One
changed.
One of the most consistently deep holes that I can remember is the railroad bridge at Louisiana on the Illinois bank.
Yeah.
That first pier there is around 85 foot. And as long as I can remember, it's been like that. And I think it has to do with something about the dike that comes off above there, creates a scour hole right at that pier.
There's a lot of it like that below Saverton. The channel's pretty, it's 20 to 24 foot. It's nothing.
One of the things about
you get on the end of them wing dams, and there'll be a hole of water, looks like a pond out there.
That's right.
It'll be 30, 35 foot deep where that water comes around into that wing dam, and it just does this, and it just scours out that bottom.
Well, I love fishing dams. I really do. The one thing I didn't like about Saverton over the years was there's a lot of rock behind Saverton Dam, and it's hard to get anchored there sometimes if you're anchor fishing. And back when I used to fish that dam, that's how we fished it, was on a rope, and it was always hard to get anchored there.
That's how I prefer to fish behind the dam, actually, especially if you're close to it.
If you're close,
I use a 25-pound box anchor on with an 1860 Sea Arc. When I throw that box anchor out, especially on that river, because if you fish behind locks before any kind of dam, there's a happy medium there to where you reach a point to where even though the water's flowing, looks like it's flowing back, it's actually going towards the dam.
Towards the dam.
That's correct.
And it's rough as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
On them roller gates I have, it's rough anyway. And when I put that anchor out and I'm fishing, if something happens, I want something I can hold on to that is not gonna move if I have a motor problem trying to get the motor going. You know, and that's the biggest thing, especially this time of year, fishing below them like dikes and dams. Be aware of what you're doing and think about, okay, what happens if my motor won't start?
That's
Or my
right.
trolling motor quits, you know,
Or the anchor don't hold.
or the anchor don't hold. Where am I going to end up?
Mm-hmm.
Because you get caught in that and it sucks you down in there. Some people, you know, with my 1860, I have an 80-pound Trinova on there. And when I fish Mississippi, when I anchor up, first thing I do is I throw my trolling motor in the water when I'm putting my anchors out. And I use my trolling motor to put my anchors out, not my big motor. And if it's somewhere where my trolling motor can't keep up, I'm not going to fish there anyway because there's too much current. You hook into a 10-pound fish in 20-mile-an-hour current, you're not getting it in.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to pull like it's 110 pounds.
It is.
You know, so why deal with that? You know, try to get in some slack water, but be aware that just because the water looks like it's going away from that dam, if you were to not for some reason lose power and you have no way of going, because if you get sucked towards them, there's no way you can take an oar or anything and keep yourself from getting.
Nope.
And it's going to take you in that roller, and as soon as that boat hits that roller, it's going to flip you.
Yep.
You know, it's just like fishing around barges. Never fish upstream of a barge and park directly in front of it. That's just stupid. The front of a barge. If you want to fish the upstream side of a barge, fish to the side of it. Barge is here, current's going that way, park over here or over here. Don't park right up against in front of it where the front of that barge is slanted. We had some people die, not last year, but the year before up here. They were in a pontoon boat and they had a trolling motor, but the current was too much and that pontoon boat went up under the front of that barge and a couple of them didn't come out. You know, and I knew, you know, they were friends with my parents, you know, a couple of them, and they were experienced river people. You know, they grew up on the river.
Yeah.
And it still got them. You know, they just that brief lapse of judgment, you know, turned a good day into a tragedy real fast, you know.
That's exactly right. And that's good advice.
Especially this time of year. You know, you could do something.
Yeah.
You get wet, you may be able to get back in the boat, but if you're a half hour, 45 minutes from a boat ramp with no wind block, you know, hypothermia will set it before you can get back.
Before you can get started, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. With it, you know, you don't have long. You got to get warmed up. So but yeah, I mean, that's this time of year. That's where I always like to go was Saverton, you know.
That's a good place
Quincy.
to fish.
The fun thing we did a lot, you know, catfish, and we was catching, just using night crawlers below the Quincy lock, put it on the Illinois side, and we'd run across there. And we just use night crawlers and we catch channel, you know, nice channel cat, nothing huge, but nice channel cat. And then we get into them sturgeon, and they're a lot of fun to catch, you know, also. But yeah.
Do what?
Do you have something to add to this?
Yes.
I would love to add something to that. You know, you know, we've talked about it in other streams and stuff, and I know Roger says that I love to fish barges and stuff like that. Anybody knows me, I'm not much of an anchor guy anyways, but anchoring up above, you know, and Lyle will make fun of my river because we don't have current, he says, but even at 2 to 3 mile an hour, you're going to be up underneath, you know, those barges.
Don't take me just a second.
You know. Yeah. So I love the point that you just made there of fishing that seam off of the barge, not like Roger where he goes directly nose towards it and gets about 10 feet without a motor started and then turns and starts the going and tries to scare you to death. But it's a great point, though, is really watching what you're doing. It doesn't matter, you know, what your current is, 2 to 3 mile an hour current, 4 mile an hour current. It's going to take you there quick if that line snaps or your batteries give way.
That's right.
Doesn't
Make sure
take
you use a
much.
heavy enough anchor line, too. I see a lot of people, they buy them cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Clothesline cords, what I always called them.
And they cut your hands and burn them and everything else. And
And I have a 5/8 inch woven
there you go
line on a 25-pound box anchor, and I got 150 foot of line. And on the end of it, I have a styrofoam round float.
There you go.
And the reason being is if you're fishing an edge, you know, on the river channel, you know, in the main navigation channel, and you're fishing on that edge, and a barge comes by, especially coming upriver, you know, some of them barges, them tugs throw out about a 5-6 foot wake behind them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you see them big rollers coming, and you don't think you can take them sideways, and you need to get rid of that anchor line quick and
Just
not
throw her
worry
out.
about pulling an anchor, undo it, and you can let it go, and then point your boat right, whatever you have to do to be safe. After it gets by, you can go back, grab your float, and you still got your anchor.
That's right.
You
One of
don't lose
those
your anchor.
5-gallon jugs that you get soap and stuff in it, they make a great buoy for anchor ropes. I used to have one on there. I don't know whatever happened to it, but yeah, I've lost it. But Doc always used an anchor ball, and they work great
that's
too.
right.
But just something that even if it goes down, that will pop up where you can just go back and get your anchor. That's
put
the
your
main
rope
thing.
in there too.
Yeah, Creel
Pop a lid
says
on
you
it.
can't really relax on the river. Always looking and thinking about where you are and what's around you, and that is some great advice right there.
Yeah, especially a big river like the Mississippi.
Right.
You'll be, it may be right. Ours was low all year because they were doing work, so ours didn't have much current. I mean, say much. 4 to 5 mile an hour was pretty much the highest current I'd had to deal with this summer out on it. But most of the time, it's kicking pretty good.
Yeah.
But most of the time when I was out there this summer, it was 2.5, 3 mile an hour current, which isn't much.
No.
But yeah,
Thank you, Jody.
you're going to watch out because it could be middle of summer. You hadn't had any rain or anything, and all of a sudden here comes a whole tree.
Yep.
And the only thing sticking up is a piece of the root wad. The rest of it's just under the surface, and you can't see it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Even on an anchor, you get out there in the river and it's fairly calm. We get, sometimes less than a mile an hour current during the summertime, but all it takes is that big old tree, like you're just saying, that underwater that hits your line, even when you're anchored. So just keep it in mind to look upstream every so often, see what's going on.
Roger said in his defense, they were scanning under the barges.
Yeah, we scanned way underneath that barge.
I have a live scope, so I look underneath up. Anything under there? Nope, ain't none there. Go on.
Yeah.
I cheat. I've learned you side scan, and then if there's any active fish there, catfish are like any fish. When they're feeding, they're not laying on the bottom.
Don't highlight that.
Chances are, if they're just laying there on the bottom, you're not going to get them no bite usually. So I find my structure of side scan, and I last up. Ain't nothing here.
Josh says you always have to respect the river. If you ever stop, it'll school you.
Yep.
Head on a swivel.
Definitely.
So how often, Dennis, do you fish the river versus like Mark Twain or the other, the lakes?
I usually fish river in the summer months after it gets hot. And I'm not keeping fish, I'm just fishing for fun on the summer. In the spring, I'll usually stock up, back because I eat it. We freeze and whatnot, and I usually get them in spring out the lake or on the Salt River, and then once it starts getting hot, I like getting up in the early mornings and hitting that river and finding them deep holes of water, because all the other water, in the shallows and stuff behind the wing dams, they've silted in so much now that it isn't very deep. So usually once that water starts warming up, then bigger fish will try to find them holes at the end of their wing dams. And usually, if they're there pretty quick, you throw bait out there, then 15 or 20 minutes, if you haven't got a bite, they're probably not in that hole. Just go to another wing dam and do it again. It's kind of how I fish it.
Yep.
I mean,
I agree.
You can go back in the back sloughs and stuff up here and find logs and brush and stuff to fish, but it's real shallow, and the Asian carp are so bad. You're throwing them out of the boat, and they make a mess out of everything.
Yes, they do.
They can break rods and jaws and arms and shoulders and collarbones.
That's okay. Chad just throws his rods in the river anyhow.
I knew that was
coming.
But so I try to stay out, and I'll sometimes fish the mouths of them sloughs, where the current seams are, off the points of them, where that point comes out there into the main current, and that backwater's coming in there, and it eddies around and goes. I'll usually fish that too, but I try to stay out of that backwater Asian carp rodeo nightmare.
Yeah, luckily up this way we don't have we have them, but they're not to where it is down that way where they're jumping
bad.
like crazy. They
I've
have
never
been
had them
tough.
do it.
People
Yeah, I've
smack
never
them.
had them jump in the channel, in the main river. It's only when you get behind the wing dams or in them
Shallow
go
water.
back to them sloughs is where they jump. Now out
Yep.
there in the navigation channel or whatnot, I've never had one jump.
I have on the Illinois River in the main channel.
I think they're thicker over. I know
There ain't
around
no doubt.
Peoria. I know
There's
around
no doubt.
Peoria they're horrible.
They are. I've fished a lot over there, and that Illinois River is plumb full of them. I've had on our enclosure, I can stand up in it and have a foot over my head of enclosure, and I've had them plumb
Oh
up
yeah.
on the top of it, and big enough that you was thinking they was coming through.
Yeah.
Bad ones, and our enclosure got used a lot more for keeping them from hitting Cindy going down the river than it ever did
I
bad
got
weather.
deals I put on my console to protect my graphs
Yeah.
because they'll take a graph mount out in a
Why?
heartbeat.
We'll just take it off. Yeah. Catfish
Fine.
and Dream says, with live scan, how has that changed things for you, Dennis?
Um, I use perspective mode a lot in the summer on
Can you
lakes where
explain that for people that don't know what
okay,
that is?
live scope, it's active sonar that you see in real time. So if like my screen is the sonar screen and the boat's up here and it instead of having just a cone that goes down below under the boat, you can set it up so you have either a front view where it comes out like this, more in the top range of the water column, kind of in the middle, or you can have it set up kind of like a traditional sonar in the cone. Okay. Those are the three, what they call forward modes and down mode. And when a fish swims in there, you can actually see it swimming. And depending on how good you are at setting it up and how much experience you have using it, you can actually tell what kind of fish that is and roughly how big that fish is.
Really?
Yeah, it'll put grid lines on there every 2 feet. You can tell if a fish is 2 foot long, like a catfish, a blue cat, and a channel cat. You can tell them. They kind of look like a bowling pin laying on its side with a big forked tail. And you can see that forked tail, and then they look like a bowling pin as you go up. They start out, and then they just get bigger, and then it kind of, just like the bottom
Yeah.
of a bowling pin. So you can kind of tell that. So once you get, and then they got what's called perspective mode, and you take that transducer and it flips down on its side and kind of points like this instead of pointing straight out. It kind of points out like this, and it puts a big 360 view out. And it works really well in 10-foot water, 10-foot water and under. And you can see like whole foundations. You can actually see the fish swimming, schools of fish. You can tell how far out they are, whether they're on the right, left, how far out they are. And I use that a lot, especially when I'm dragging at night. I use it a lot. I can see my graph up in the front of my boat, and I'll have my transducer down in the water. I have it on a separate pole, and I'm in the back of the boat, with the rods, but I can see linked together with the one on my dash, the Garmin on my dash, and watch my live scope screen. If that's perspective mode, a lot of times if you're dragging in the dark, you're not going to see, unless you got lights up there, you won't see a stump sticking up, a tree, something floating in the water, something just under the water. Where perspective mode, I can see that coming and I can move the boat around it. And also, so I don't end up come up on a log that's 30 feet long and 4 foot of water, 2 foot round, and every rod I have get hung up on it.
That's way cool.
You can
That
keep
is
from
pretty
doing
cool.
that.
So
That's one thing I use a lot. Use it a lot for. The other thing I find is in the fall and early spring. And I mentioned it earlier. You can actually see active fish if they're on there moving around. Channel cat in the wintertime are notorious for all bunching up on a piece of structure somewhere at a certain water depth. Either it'll be a big tree or around, bridge pillars, whatever the case may be. And with it, you don't, some depth finders, if you put them on default, you'll see signals and there really ain't no signals there. To where that live scope, you can actually tell it's a fish and not a leaf in the water
yeah,
or a stick that's half floating and, it ain't made its mind up whether it wants to go to the bottom yet or come back up to the top. to where your regular sonar will just show a fish icon when it isn't a fish, to where that you can actually tell if it's fish or whether it's just false signals. That's probably the biggest change. And finding bait by far, it's made getting bait, even on waters you don't know. Schools of shad, moon eye, skipjack, you can see.
I love moon eye.
Well,
Yeah, that's
question
what we
for
have up
you.
here on the river. It's moon eye.
Based off of your usage of this, Mark from Catfish and Crappie would love to know if you would be able to easily find a Uncle Lou's rod with a Catfish Special 7000 on the bottom of a river.
If it's standing up, yeah.
Okay.
I found it. I had a friend who runs trout lines at Salt River, and they raised the water up and it washed it. And he's like, I lost a line down there, blah blah. It's like, I'm going down there this afternoon to fish. I'll find it for you. If you know where you tied it off and where you threw the anchor out for it, I'll find it unless it's laying flat on the bottom. And he's like, all right. We went down there and I put that in the water and it took me 5 minutes. And I took a treble hook on one of my catfish rods and dipped it down there like I was dipping a brush pile for crappie. Dipped it down there and did like this and pulled that line up. And it was running horizontal down the middle of the river, but it had a couple fish on there and I could see them pulling it off the bottom.
Wow.
And I could see them fish pulling, you see the line going to the main line of his trout line, and then the fish up here swimming. And I could see where that line was, and I just hooked it, just brought it right up, handed it to him. I said, here you go.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Paula says they had a tournament on the Tennessee River the past weekend, and the TWRA wrote a ticket to a father with an underage child. No life jacket, strong current, storms,
Good.
just bad condition, and the father got mad. Well, tough cookies.
Yeah, good.
Protect your children.
That's
Protect
right.
yourselves.
That's right.
If you're doing something that's against the law, regardless of how severe it is, in my opinion, especially when you're involving children in it, you're setting that example for that child
for the rest of his life.
Stuff. Yeah, what happens if he fell in or whatnot? Even you should be punished.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that there's so many things that Illinois does that upsets me, but they will write you a ticket in a heartbeat if that boat moves and there's an underage child on that boat without a life jacket. It can be a trolling motor, it can be paddle. If it's moving and that kid don't have a life jacket, you're getting a ticket, and it should be that way. I that's one thing that they do that I agree with.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois is a lot stricter than Missouri. I mean, that's at least when I fished Mississippi, when I'm out there by myself, I have names on rods and I'll put a spread out,
Yeah.
Or if you're from Illinois, you can't do that. You 2 rods, that's it.
Yep.
Now, but
you can have your name and address and phone number on it, or your conservation number from the state of Missouri. And then you can have up to 33 hooks, I believe.
Yeah, in Missouri. Can't do that in Illinois is what I've been told. I don't know.
But they have reciprocating license, right?
We share just on the Missouri, just on the Mississippi.
Just right, yeah, just on
only
the Mississippi.
Yeah. I know there's some states that actually share licenses. Like somebody, I think, what is it, Kansas and some other state, you can fish the other one's water.
Nebraska, isn't it?
License. Some state, yeah. Missouri, no, they just adjoining water.
Yeah.
You share. And whatever side
you put it on,
you have to follow their regulation. So, like if I put in at Quincy, I have to follow the Illinois regulation on creel limit, size, and limit, that type stuff is what I've been told. I don't put in over there enough to win.
I don't
when I'm over there, I don't really worry about it.
Here's a great question. Don R. wants to know, have you ever used UV light to see stumps? I have not.
I have UV lights on my boat. And actually, I got one of them on the rods behind me to make them glow. So they stood out. But I've never used it for that.
Okay. I didn't know that would work, but that is some great information.
Mm-hmm. I've heard it does, but I haven't ever done it. I mean, I use black lights on my boat at night. I got a pole I screw in, and I got a trolling motor plug, and I got 4 black lights. I kind of copied it off of Chunky Cat's Fishing, how he uses the black lights.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on a pole, 4-foot pole, and I switch them on and I turn all my other lights off, and the rods are just glow, and I don't have to deal with bugs.
I can see Roger in his muskrat boat going down with black lights or UV lights on looking for stumps, because he knows that where there's stumps, there's structure, and where there's structure, there's fish.
Yeah.
I can see him having them on there this spring.
Yeah, I have driving bars on the front of my boat. Flip them on, and it's like driving a car.
Oh, cool.
Good night. I've seen Roger also asking some questions, like maybe talk about a little bit about your catfishing setup.
Okay.
I know you drag baits on Mark Twain. I've seen some videos of that, and
yeah, I mainly drag baits. I mainly use medium heavy 7.5-foot rod. Everybody's got their favorites. I've been using the silver. I got 4 Silver Cat Elites, and as you can see, this is not red. I spray paint them orange. I'll buy a $100 rod and put a rattle can to it, so I can see it better if it's not bright colored. But you couldn't get the bright colored rods, until recently.
Right.
So, and then I use a medium heavy 7.5-foot. I don't want a longer rod in a boat. It's just when you're casting, if somebody's with you and you got an 8, 10, 12-foot rod, somebody's going to get a hook in them in the dark.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. And then I normally use bait cast reel. This one's PC Fun's KI 60. I love them. I just got 2 of them this summer. And they've been abused. Cast King's another one I use. Cast King's 50. I've got some Bass Pro shop stuff.
Yep. I
don't have any Abus. I don't have the money to go buy, 15 Cat C3s, so I'll just buy a new one every couple of years if I have to, rather than buy one last me a lifetime.
I have less Abus than I used to.
Yeah, I had a couple of the older ones. I bought at yard sales or whatnot, took them apart and cleaned them up, made them work. And then for line, I usually run anywhere from 30 to 60 pound, depending on, the rod. And then I use dragon sinkers that I make.
You make your own?
Yeah, the DL sinkers.
And for those that don't know, they are for sale.
Yeah, I make
some of them right here.
Yeah, they're also for sale, like at the bait shops around the lake, Hunting Hut, Hobby Hut, the Hunting Corner, the Hobby Hut, Can-Dam General Store. You can buy them there, or you can get a hold of me on the Facebook page, and figure out a way to get them to you. Whether it meets you come to me, or I ship them.
Or
as far as payment, I do PayPal.
Or
payments. But when I'm rigging for dragon, especially, I pretty much use it all the time. But dragon, I'll run a dragon sinker. I use a sinker slide rather than clip on to like use a 3-way swivel or put a clip on a regular barrel swivel.
Right.
I prefer a sinker slide, and the reasons I may drag and I may see something. Oh man, I'm going to anchor up real quick, and I can just unclip this, put on a bank sinker, and I don't have to worry about the fish feeling the weight. When you're dragging, chances are it's going to go to the swivel anyway, because you're moving. I use a rattle. Does it help? I don't know. I got a bunch of them, so I'm going to use them.
That's right.
The question, does it hurt?
Do what?
I said, the question might not.
At all. No, I don't think
exactly.
It hurts. I don't think it hurts at all. And then a peg float, of course. And then you hook anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. Just keep in mind when you're dragging this on the bottom, if this is where the sinker is and you put it in the middle, your floats are defeating the purpose. Your bait's going to be on the bottom. You need to move it so it actually floats the bait off the bottom so your hook doesn't get hung up. Now, when I'm anchored up fishing and there's no current, I'll lose the float. Same setup, just no float. Because when there's no current, it just sets up here like this and gets all tangled up and so I just lose the float. But other than that, it's the same setup whether I'm anchored.
Is that kind of like this kind of rig here? Oh, you can't see it on account of the green screen.
You got the one with the green.
Rookie.
That's the exact rig without the keep the cost down. I didn't put a rattle on. I don't put rattles on. Some people don't want the rattles.
This one's an orange one.
There you
There's
go.
all kinds of colors.
Yeah,
There
man. You know
Yeah,
what?
that's one of the Santee Cooper rigs that I do up. I don't put rattles on them because some people don't like the rattles.
Right.
It keeps the cost down on them. But
These even come with instructions on them, and on the back there's a package tip with every package, and we're going to give some of this stuff away in a little while. So hang tight.
Yeah. But
Theodore Arco
usually
wants
for hooks, like an A-dot is about as small as I go. You know, I mean, if I'm fishing for, I know I'm only going to catch a channel cat, I might drop down to like a 6. But I'm one of the people, I want a big hook because I don't want them swallowing it.
That's right.
No matter what fish it is.
Yep.
On the Mississippi, a lot of times I use a 10-aught because there is a chance of catching a big fish. So I want to make sure that gap on that hook is big enough that jawbone can get in that gap and hook up.
Well, Theodore wants to know, how important is electronics in your catfishing strategy?
Not other than side scan, not much. The only thing I really use them for is side scan to find structure you can't see. It's more important to learn what to look for, especially on moving water. You know, your current seams, look at the bank, you know, so you can tell what type of bottom it is.
Yeah.
You know, so you can have the best electronic in the world, but if you don't know what to look for with it,
It doesn't matter.
It ain't gonna matter.
That's right. So do you recommend rod leashes for people who throw rods in the water? Inquiring minds want to know.
I wouldn't use one. I've thrown rods in the water.
I have
on
to.
purpose. On purpose.
Yeah, I've done it that way
but,
too. But I put them on an accident.
The only time I would say use one is if your rod holders, you're using them cheap plastic rod holders.
Yep,
And
I would definitely
get into something big enough it'll break them.
Yep.
Use them so you don't lose your rod that way. But if you're going to throw a rod in the water, I'll tell you right now, you're going to take the leash off.
Yeah, that's fact.
You know, if rod's messing up bad enough to where it's maybe man enough, I'm going to throw it in the water. I'm going to unhook that leash. It's going in.
Yeah.
I got to go ahead and say that this topic is becoming like the S word, and we're going to have to start making people pay troll fees.
I was trying to deflect them away from that. Did you notice that?
I did. I did.
Myself under the bus for you, man.
But you made a good point though. Is the first rod that I ever lost off of my boat? I've lost 2. And it was exactly that, what you're saying, the cheaper plastic type, ones you get at
I don't want to throw any manufacturer under the bus, but we all know who makes them.
Yeah, ripped it right out of it, and exactly. I wish I would have thought about rod leashes at that point.
Yeah. Was one of them rods?
You can even buy the life jackets for them, the little like pool noodle type things that you put on with a zip tie.
I have already received a pack from Brad Claudel at Tidal Wake.
So was one of them rods D's?
No.
One of the rods, what? It got pulled in?
He lost one of these rods.
Not that one. That one was mine. That one was mine that I threw in the river.
The last one?
No, the other one was it was an old. Before I really started getting around the tournament folks that got me thinking I needed a exact set of rods for dragging and this and that, and I started upgrading my rods and reels. I had a Penn Rival with a Penn Penn Warfare 20 on it, and I was messing with some knotted up lines, and all of a sudden I hear a clunk clunk, and I look back, and my rod is bouncing off the back of the boat.
After re-regulation, a lot of times we'd stick them in the rocks.
We'll try to bear that in mind, Brian. But there's another one here. I gotta find it. Where did it go?
I don't know, but I think I clicked off.
There it is. He snapped her rod.
That did happen.
That did.
Is that hook a little hard?
Did you
Now,
happen to replace that for her?
I did replace that for her with a whisker seeker rod. But no, yeah, I had one. We went out fishing. We had it place it in the boat, and the only thing I could think of is I had left some sinkers on the sinker slide, and
Oh,
I'm guessing maybe that it bounced and it was a shorter rod. That's the only thing I can think of. But moving
Dennis,
on to real fishing question. In
Dennis,
the winter, do you feel that big blues are grouped with smaller blue cats?
no. I don't think
Never.
blue cat group like flatheads.
No,
Flatheads,
I don't either.
stack on top of each other, look like cordwood.
Yeah.
They'll winter together. Blues will hang out in the same hole, same general area. Probably about 8 years ago, there was a place out in Mark Twain by one of the boat ramps you could walk to. And it was a deep hole of water. And a buddy of mine called me and said, "Hey, I'm catching these fish out here. You got to get out here." And I'm like, "I ain't getting out there. It's like 10 degrees out. How you even?" He's like, "Well, it ain't froze." I'm like, "I know it ain't froze, but I will be." He's like, "No, you don't understand. I got four blue cat I've already caught. They're about 30, 35 pounds a piece, and I can't keep up with them." So I jump in the truck and boom, go barreling out there, I get there, and he's got them sitting on the bank. So he's already got me mad. I'm like, "What are you keeping these for?" And there's two of them alive. I'm like, "I got fish at home. You want some fish? Put these back." I'm a big person on, we can't have these big fish if you keep keeping them. Me, anything over 30 inches goes back. I don't care if it's your personal best or whatnot. Take pictures, get a replica. Don't matter what species, if it's, you can't have them big fish if that's all you're taking out of your waters. If you want to eat them, keep blues and channels, keep them in that, whatever's legal, but I normally keep them no smaller than 18 inches to about 24, 25 inches, but anything bigger than 30 inches, it goes back now. I'm not keeping them. I don't care who it is with me. They're not keeping them for over 30 catfish. And, so he said, all right. So he put them back. Then as we were catching them, he just put them back. But we sat there and caught them, and every one of them was in a 5-pound range from one another within 2 or 3 inches. And we sat there and we caught 8 or 10 of them, in a 3-hour period. It seems like to me that they're just going to be in that area. If the big fish are there, they're going to be big fish. There's going to be small fish. I don't think it's a case to where some fish being cannibals. I know bass are really bad about it. If you got a lake that's got big bass in it and you get a bunch of small ones, they'll eat their own fry. I don't think catfish are like that as bad. So I see them, they'll mingle.
I don't know.
But for the most part, normally when you find big ones, they're big ones. When you find small ones, they're small ones.
I agree.
Mark from Catfish and Crappie is asking for James Dockery Fishing, who should be being subbed to right now because we're on the drive for 500 still.
That's right.
How is the flathead bite on Thomas Hill right now? Do you know?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't been yet. I'm going to go out tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to go there. Mark Twain's starting to freeze over. So I don't know if I want to go to the river or go to Thomas Hill yet. It's kind of what my wife feels like doing in the morning.
I'm not sure what this is all about, but he says, "Dennis, what hammer do you recommend to hit your motor with, claw or ball peen?" Oh, okay.
None. They don't run very well when you do that. And if they're running bad enough you want to hit them with a hammer, chances are you shouldn't be out on the water with it anyway.
Not this time of the year.
Any time of the year.
Oh,
Boat motors
man.
are like weed eaters. If you got one that runs, leave it alone.
Well, I'll go for that.
Because once they start not running right, it's just like a weed eater. They may be fine for 3 miles and then they may never run again. There you are.
As far as weed eaters goes, I feel like the best thing to do when they don't run well is throw them in the trash and go get another one.
Oh, that's kind of like I am with boat. I mean, I've got a good one. I got a 60 horse Merc with oil. It's 2-stroke, but it's oil injected, so it's quiet. It isn't your typical smoke like a devil, loud and obnoxious 2-stroke that can't idle. I can start it and go park the truck and it's still idling when I come back. It's been a good one. So, I have no plans on getting rid of it.
Yeah, I've got a good old Mercury. I've had it for years, and it's injected, and it's been a good one. I just can't complain. I would like to upgrade at some point, but it's really hard for me to take off one that runs perfectly good when there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, why get rid of it if it's fine? That's my philosophy on it.
That's right.
You know, I mean, smaller motors, you know, your 5s, 9, 10, 15, 20, 25 to 30. I don't think Mercury's the best route to go on those, my opinion. I think you need to go with a older, if you got a good old Evinrude, they run forever. But the new Suzukis and Yamahas on them smaller motors purr like a kitten.
Oh, yeah.
To where once you get over about 30, into your 50, 60 and up, Mercury and Yamaha pretty well dominates, I think, that now.
Well, I read a deal the other day online, and somebody was bashing Mercury's, and another guy says, well, you can say whatever you want, but they sell more every year than all the rest
What's
of the
on
manufacturers
every new boat
together.
that comes out? It's usually a Mercury or a Yamaha now.
Yeah, and I've had a ton of them, never had any trouble with them.
Yep. I remember the old 99 Mercs from the 80s, and had the blue stripes around them. Oh my God, them sunbucks wouldn't run.
Every 10 years they'd change the color on the stripes.
Yeah, but they'd run fine for about 6 months, and then you cussed and pulled and cussed.
The only thing that I have found with my Mercury, I have a Mercury 60 horsepower engine, is that it will lose a battle with a half an inch of ice.
Yeah. Well, that's something I posted a video here talking about ice on them. I know you're talking about cracking lower units.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. I posted a video online because people, are you still fishing? Yeah, I'm fishing. But if you're not used to fishing wintertime, and you go out, put your boat in, you go fishing, and say it's, 40 degrees or whatever. But before you get home, say when you pull off the water, it's 30, 28, 30 degrees. And you pull off the water like you do in the summertime, move your motor, put it on your stand, whatever, and then you take off. You've done screwed up. Them motors have to be drained as soon as you get out of the water. Don't even pull it up to the parking lot. Pull up, get it out of the water, walk back there, raise it all the way up, let it sit there until it drains, raise it all the way down, let it drain, and get that water out of there, because that water freezes inside them lower units, and they'll bust them lower unit housings quick.
I've had that happen to one time a long time ago.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you
hit your motor with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you were saying, you want to make sure you get every bit of it, because even if it's, say, 35 or so, right, that drive home, that constant wind chill will end up freezing that. So if it's close, make sure you're definitely getting every bit that you can out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Timberlina asked a question. What?
I just seen something in here I wanted to put up here, and now I don't see it. Oh, Jay's Catfishing said, are they going to require a vaccination card at the Catfish conference? I do not know, have no idea. And I don't imagine decisions like that will be made until right before time. That's just kind of the way they do things like that. It seems, and it's not the people putting the conference on, it's the government or the state or whoever is in charge of that.
Saturday, I was at Collinsville at the Let's Go Fishing show down in Collinsville, Illinois. And it said on theirs mask required, And when I showed up down there, the majority, only a handful were even wearing a mask. I think a lot of people right now that are going to go to them aren't overly worried about COVID.
No, I don't think
so. They may have experienced it or been affected by it, but they're either vaccinated or they're not worried about it.
Yep, I agree.
No, Tim, it was not. But yeah, it's stuff like that. It's going to be a week-to-week decision from every local government. And like you said, it's not even just the government, but they're all going off of local, the health department, and the CDC, whatever. All those guys are making the rules about.
Also plays a role too. What is it like in that area? Are they really getting hit hard by it? To where, there's a danger to yourself going, to big gatherings without taking the right precautions.
That is a fact.
Whatever you believe, we don't want to get into that, but whatever
you believe.
Me personally, I'm not too worried. I've had it, and
Nope. To me, it's good.
My parents have it right now, and it's hitting Dad pretty hard. And Mom, they're both been down now for quite a while, but they're starting to kind of see the light. But then I was at Collinsville, and Mom's like, "What do I do? Do I call an ambulance?" I can't. And I'm like, I'm all the way down here. Dad's a firefighter. You're a fire. You're on the fire department unit, first responders. If you think he needs an ambulance, call one. Don't wait.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. How about we give away some stuff?
Yeah, let's
There
do
will
that.
be. Yeah.
We got some D&L sinker pre-tied Sandy Cooper rig. These have an 8/0 hook, I believe. Is that right, Dennis?
8/0 wide gap circle hook.
A peg float, barrel swivel, 2-ounce snake weight, tied with 40-pound big game.
Yep.
Right, chia. And I have the giveaway tool set up.
Awesome.
And we'll start as soon as I get this shared out.
And while you're working on that, do you know if there will be any cat tournaments on Twain this year?
Yeah. There might not be in Illinois. It may get busy for us.
True.
Yeah, I know of a couple. There's usually a couple benefit tournaments in the spring. I know there's two. I do not know what the other one's. Ethan something Memorial Tournament or College Fund Tournament for Memorial Tournament is one of them. They usually have it in like early April, and then the other one that I've never fished in that one, but the other one I fished in, I know they're having it this year, is the Knights of Columbus benefit tournament. Knights of Columbus puts on a tournament every year. It's usually, I want to say, $80 a person or so if you pre-register.
That's pretty reasonable.
3 people in a boat. It's not 100% payout on it because the funds on it, the funds made for it goes towards the 1 year they help pay for new playground equipment at the Holy Rosary Church put in for the Holy Rosary School for the Christian church there in Monroe, Catholic Church. And then last year, I think they helped pay to have a equipment building built, like for sports equipment, outdoor equipment, like ball bats and baseballs and gloves and stuff like that, to house that stuff at the Holy Rosary Church School. It's a good one. It's usually a really good one. It's friendly. It's not a high dollar tournament, so you don't get a lot of the high dollar tournament problems. I think there's a video on my page. I actually recorded the weigh in of it. It's just a good tournament. Usually everybody's same people year after year with a few new ones. Last year I did a truckload sale with sinkers and stuff before we launched. But when they do a big fish, and tournament, they're separate. One, how they did it last year, I think it was a 5-fish limit is all it was. I'm trying to get them to drop it down to 3. 5-fish limit, and your big fish could not be used in your tournament bag. So if you caught 6 fish, 1 big fish, you had your big fish, that had to be out of their tournament weight. So if you use it for big fish, you couldn't use it in your tournament weight. Say you caught 5 fish and you want to use your big fish in the big fish, you only weighed 4 fish and not the big one, if that's what you wanted to do. And it's kind of so there's more chances for other people to, get something. I think first place for the tournament was around $400. They had prizes for like first, second, third paid a money amount, and then they had prizes for the next 3 positions. We got 6, my wife and I, and we got a fishing pole, a fishing rod, Abu Garcia combo, and a cast net. Somebody else got, I think it was $50 or $75 gift certificate to the local restaurant, and then another one, just prizes in general like that. And then they were going to do a raffle last year. They didn't get it in because they ran off and forgot the the raffle tickets.
Oh wow.
so they didn't. So all that is carried over to this year, is what I've been told. That they still have all that stuff. So
Cool.
they're going to do raffles. You can, like 10 tickets for whatever, and then they call out the tickets and you go up, pick out a prize type thing. And they usually have some nice stuff there donated by all the local places. I know several places, a couple places donated rod and reel combos, and spools of line, hooks, and, some knives and some signage, bats, just whatever outdoor stuff, the bait shops would donate, and whatnot. And it was the Knights of Columbus. Last year they had it in May. Try to have it either before or after spawn is what he's trying to do. So
way cool. What do you say we give these free ties away?
Do it.
All right, we'll do that, and then we'll do one more, and then everybody can jump on over to Mark Catfish and Crappie podcast and watch them. Crappie Day Fish On. If you will send me a message after the show, either on our Facebook page or at catfishweeklytv@gmail.com, and let me know your shipping address, I'll get this out to you.
Congratulations. Enjoy them.
I'm writing the name on the thing.
If I'm not mistaken, Crappie Day Fish On is from Missouri, so
That'd be swell.
Oh, there you go.
I like that.
I think it's rigged.
No. We're going to
Kentucky
use
didn't win.
We will use the same thing, the same hashtag, and give everybody just a minute to get in. If they have not got in, whoop, too late. I done hit draw again.
Yep.
We're doing it anyway.
Yep, we're doing it now. And this is for sinkers. For a 2-pack of sinkers. Catfishing with the Crow.
All right.
Catfishing with the Crow. If you'll send me a message also and let me know your shipping address, we'll get them out
There
to
is
you.
tournaments on Mark Twain. I'll usually put them on the DL Sinkers Facebook page. I'll usually put a flyer and the link to, and has the phone numbers and everything on the flyer with the dates and phone numbers you need to call and kind of whatever's on the flyer. I'll usually have it on there.
Awesome.
Some stuff.
Well, thank you for the stuff to give away, Dennis. We're going to be doing this periodically for the next few weeks. So everybody needs to be aware of that. Need to give me a couple of packages of stuff to give away, and we're gonna do that. Thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight. We've absolutely had a blast with you.
It goes fast.
It does. It doesn't seem like it's been an hour, but it has.
It goes too fast.
And maybe we'll give it a few weeks here when the weather warms up a little bit and fish start biting. We'll get you back on here, and you can give us a report of how things are going up there.
Sure. Be happy to.
Thanks a bunch again. Chad, any closing statements?
Nope. Let's go make sure we go over and check out Catfish and Crappie right after this. He's doing an open mic night, I believe.
That'll be a lot of fun. And Thursday night, Fields to Water and Panfish Nation.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate it. Be sure to tune in to Mark. He is coming on next.